Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Before we do get started, I want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. And among those, I want to thank Eric, Joseph, William, and Catherine for their support. We'll be sending along the promised extras and access to our premium site. And you can support the show at support.greatdetectives.net. And I have decided, even though the listener support campaign is over, to add a few premiums that we'll have on an ongoing basis. At the $20 level, I will send, if listeners request it, I'll be happy to send them one of my ebooks for the Kindle. And at the $50 level, we have, for limited time, still two sets of two paperback books, original prints of Michael Shayne from the 1950s and 60s. And then at the $100 level, we're going to continue to offer John C. Abbott's Who is Johnny Dollar books. And at the $250 level, we'll happily send you all three books. I won't talk about these extra premiums very much, but they are there if listeners are interested. All right, well, now it's time for a new episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This one is called The Jolly Rogers Fraud Matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Hi, Johnny. Pat McCracken at Universal Adjustment.
Hello, Pat.
Listen, I have something here I think maybe...
Whoa, hold it, boy. I've already packed.
What? You are?
Yep, taking off in about an hour. First plane out I can get.
Well, how'd you know?
I've been planning it for months.
How could you? It only happened last Thursday.
Pat.
Yeah?
I'm going on a vacation far, far away to sunny Southern California. Little town of La Jolla. And to help me keep out of sight from such as you, I'm taking along all my skin diving outfit. Bye.
Well, wait, Johnny. That's right next door.
To what?
The case I want you to handle for us in San Diego.
Just changed my plans, Pat. I'm going to Florida.
No, listen, Johnny. There's enough commission on this case to pay for 2 vacations. And as long as you're going to be right there in Southern Cal anyway, look, why don't you drop in on me before you take off?
Okay, sucker.
What?
Just talking to myself. I'll see you.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an accounting of expenditures incurred during my investigation of the Jolly Roger fraud. Expense account item 1, taxi for myself and my vacation luggage to the offices of Universal Adjustment, 436 Parley Street, Hartford, in the hope I could argue both Pat McCracken and myself out of taking on the case. The last 2 cases I'd handled for Pat had almost cost me my life, and I was beginning to be a bit superstitious about anything he had a hand in. But trying to talk him down was like trying to talk down your mother-in-law.
Maybe your skin diving trick will help you crack the case. But the main thing is you're going to California anyhow. This way you can put your whole vacation on expense account.
Pat.
And, baby, if I know you run down the case in about 2 days, come up with a swindle sheet for a couple of weeks.
Pat.
To say nothing of the commission I mentioned over the phone.
Listen, will you?
You see, the Jolly Roger was insured by Southwest Maritime Insurance and Liability for 460 G's. Bert Parker, in their San Diego office, can give you all the dope on it.
Bert Parker?
Sure, you remember him. Handed you the Molly Kay matter a few months ago. A very profitable case for you, wasn't it? Well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but now look,
So you'll clean up on this, too. The Jolly Roger, you know, was one of the finest seagoing yachts on the West Coast.
No, I didn't know. But, Pat, I'm
Big
not going
diesel job, 110 feet long. Floating palace. Probably the most luxurious wooden hull job built since the...
Wooden hull? 110-foot diesel job? Wooden hull?
And that, unfortunately, is why she burned to the waterline before the weight of her engines carried her down to Davy Jones's locker.
Total loss, huh?
Total. $460,000 gone.
That's too bad. Well, Pat, it was nice seeing you again. Now I got to get my plane to New York to get my plane for the coast.
But I haven't even told you why we want you to look in on this thing,
Pat, I am going to the coast on a vacation, remember?
But I told Bert that you were on your way.
You told what?
Sure. Phoned him right after I talked to you.
Well, you dog.
Sure. He's promised to contact the Mexican authorities that you may need to help you and have everything all...
How are they involved? Oh, now, look, Pat, enough of this. I got to get along.
Sure. My car's right downstairs, and I can tell you the rest I know.
No. Tell it to somebody else. I'm going out there on a vacation.
Baby, you can't let me down on this one. Look, we haven't got any regular man out there, only a couple of part-timers like Bert Parker. You know, sell the policies with one hand and act as adjusters with the other.
I got to go.
Sure. You see, here, I'll take that back. And this one. You see, that works out all right on small accounts, but on these big ones... Wow, what do you got in here? A case of scotch?
Pat, will you shut up a minute and let me
Not
tell you?
on your life. That'd give you a chance to change your mind about taking on the... Here's the elevator. Oh, excuse me, lady. Sorry. Now, I still haven't told you why we smell something wrong in this whole case. It's simply and clearly this, John boy.
Yeah, it's simply and clearly this. The diesel yacht Jolly Roger was owned by one Paulus Zaganian, ex-rum runner, ex-gun runner, ex-shipping magnate, suspected spy through 2 world wars, and generally undesirable character despite the millions he'd made. During the last war, he cleaned up by scaring some of the smaller countries into buying a lot of obsolete military equipment that was hardly fit for the scrap pile. And in more than one place around the world, there was anything but a welcome mat waiting for him. And in a lot of places, a lot of countries, the minute he landed his seagoing palace, the gendarmes would stick to him like flies to a molasses barrel just to make sure he behaved himself. Anyhow, trying to argue with Pat was useless, so I agreed to take on the case. Expense account, items 2, 3, and 4. $190, 4 cents. Plane fares and incidentals, Hartford to New York, New York to Los Angeles, L.A. to San Diego, where I hope to grab a cab to La Jolla before Bert Parker could find out I'd arrived. But I was met at the airport, but not by Bert Parker.
Mr. Dollar.
Yeah?
I thought you were by the description.
Oh, don't tell me they've got me on those wanted posters out here, too.
Oh, silly. I'm Jan Penny, Mr. Parker's office. You know, Southwest Insurance and Liability.
Maybe I ought to take the case after all.
I'm going to work with you on it.
Oh, no, I'm sure I will.
You see, Mr. Parker's in the hospital. When he received Mr. McCracken's wire about your time of arrival, he asked me to meet you here.
Hospital? What's the matter with him?
It's supposed to have been an accident. Hit and run.
Well, what do you mean, supposed to be?
Bert thinks they tried to run him down deliberately.
Who?
I think he'd better tell you about it.
Yeah, I think somebody better. We picked up my luggage, dropped it off at a hotel. I phoned the place I'd made a reservation in La Jolla and told them I might be a day late. And Jan Penny and I went on over to the Queen of Mercy Hospital to talk with Bert Parker. On doctor's orders, I went into his room alone. Bert looked terrible.
So glad you could make it, Johnny.
Hey, you sure you want to be trying to talk, Bert? Look, why don't we forget it now?
I have to talk. Well, I can, Johnny. They try to kid me, tell me I'll be out of here in a couple of days. That lying, I saw the chart. Internal bleeding.
Hey, Bert. Bert, take it easy, will you? Look, the doc said you have to take it easy. Well, why can't your gal Jan tell me all I need to know on the case?
She can't accept this. It's getting run down.
Yeah, she said she thought it wasn't an accident.
She thinks. I know.
Yeah?
Phone calls. Threatening phone calls.
Threatening? About what, Bert?
Because of holding up on this claim. Somehow somebody found out. I called Hartford. Asked for investigation.
Who?
Nagin denies that he...
The owner of the Jolly Roger?
Yeah. denies knowing anything about the calls, but they weren't kidding Johnny. That's why I'm here.
Then they probably know I was asked to come out here.
Johnny.
Yeah?
Johnny better go back. Drop this one.
Oh, Bert.
If they know you're here, they may try to... Johnny.
Yeah?
Hurts, Johnny.
Nurse. 3 hours later, while Jan Penny and I paced the corridor, Bert Parker died. The only thing I'd learned from him was that I'd better be careful. Mighty careful. I took Jan Penny to the roughest, toughest dive I could find, Ray Kemper's Cat Club, in the hope we could both drown a sorrow or two.
Why, Johnny? Why did it have to be Bert?
You liked him, didn't you?
I loved him. I loved Bert. Now he's... Let's have another drink.
Hey, Jan, don't you think maybe... Oh. Waiter! Waiter, 2 more, please.
I know this is no way to face it, Johnny.
It's all right, Jan.
I came out here like everybody does. Every young female kid who's been told she's prettier than the rest. You know, the movies, Hollywood, glamour, all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But it was rough. It was too rough. And I couldn't play the game they seemed to want to play out here. And I was all set to go back to the farm country and settle down to the same dull... But then I met Bert. Instead of giving me just a lot of fast talk, he said he wanted to help me. And he did, Johnny. He really did. Took me into his office here in San Diego. And we made this office, Johnny. We did. And he still didn't try to make any advances because he knew I wouldn't want that. But what he didn't know was that I loved him for it. That I loved him. Now he's gone.
Hey, look, Jan, there's nothing we can do about it. Except try to finish the job he started on the case that put us here drinking too much and trying not to think of him and thinking of nothing else but him. Oh, thanks, bud. Here, keep the change.
Johnny?
Yeah?
You're like Bert. You're straight. I'm glad.
Easy, gal.
Maybe you didn't know him as well as I did. But you cared about him enough to do this, and
Jan, take it easy. Listen, Jan.
Yes?
Grab your coat, I'm taking you home.
Oh, I'm all right. Really, I am.
You've got a double job to do tomorrow, his as well as yours.
How can you talk?
I know. I'm out here. I'm out here to knock off the Jolly Roger, make sure the payment of the claim is okay. At least that's why I came out here.
Well, then how...
Now I've also got to find out who... Well...
Bert.
Yeah. And I'm going to need your help.
All right, Johnny.
Come on, Jan. Grab your coat. I took her home to her little apartment on East Drive. I didn't go up for the usual nightcap because I didn't want to. And I knew Jan didn't want me to. I dropped into police headquarters, homicide first, and then traffic detail to see if they'd been able to dig up anything on the hit-run driver who'd killed Bert. Nothing. Apparently, the threat he'd received just before the so-called accident was something that only he and Jan had known about. The expense account? Oh, I don't know. Call it $10. A couple of cabs, a couple of drinks, or maybe 6 or 8, or... I'm kind of tired tonight. Bert was a nice guy. Jan's a nice girl. In the morning, I'll call the hotel in La Jolla and delay my reservation there another day. Meantime, I'll get some sleep, I guess. Maybe I'll even cook me up a dream or two about skin diving and sunning on the rocks at La Jolla after all this whole rotten case is cleared up. Get myself a good winter tan to take the place of this high eastern pallor I've been trying to get... Oh. Hello. Hello.
Johnny.
Hello?
Johnny, listen.
Hello, I can't... Jan?
Yes, Johnny. Listen to me.
Yeah.
We must have been followed tonight.
Huh? Jan?
I got a phone call just a minute ago.
Yeah?
A man. He threatened me.
What do you mean he threatened you? How? Who was it?
I don't know. He said, if I help you...
Yeah?
There'll be another accident. To me.
Jan.
And to you. And to you.
Listen, Jan.
Oh, Johnny, I'm afraid.
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, this is Jan.
Yes, Jan.
A minute ago, after you left me here at my apartment, I got a phone call.
Yeah?
A threat. If I help you on this case, there'll be another accident.
Huh?
Like the one that happened to Bert. Fatal. To me.
Jan.
To you. Oh, Johnny, I'm afraid.
Stay right where you are. I'm on my way over. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Universal Adjustment Bureau, attention Patrick McCracken. Pat, I'm addressing this to you instead of to the Southwestern Maritime Insurance and Liability because Southwestern's sole representative here in San Diego, California, Bert Parker, died yesterday in the hospital, presumably of an accident. But I don't believe it. I think it's because he knew too much about this case. The Jolly Roger fraud. Item 6270, cab fare and tip from my hotel to the little apartment of Jan Penny, who had been Bert Parker's secretary before he was killed.
Who is it?
Johnny Dollar, you all right?
Come in, Johnny, quick. Oh, okay.
Easy now. Who was it threatened you over the phone? Did you recognize the voice?
Yes.
Well, who was it?
I don't know.
Huh?
It was the same voice that called Bert at the office and warned him before he was run down by that car and killed.
But you don't know who it was?
No. Oh, Johnny, I'm so scared. Please hold me.
All right.
No, I don't mean that. It sounds like I'm trying to...
It's okay, Jan. It's okay. Just take it easy. Here we are. Come on, dear. Sit down. Here, have a cigarette.
I'm sorry, Johnny. I guess it's just been too much for a gal.
Yeah, sure. I don't doubt it. I thought when I bought you a few drinks tonight, you'd be able to come back here and sleep and forget what's happened. Forget about Bert being killed.
It's because he held up the claim on the Jolly Roger. Because he sent for you. That's why they're threatening you, too. Oh, Johnny, be careful.
And you have no idea who they is?
Of course I do. The same idea you have. The man who owned the Jolly Roger before she burned and sank. Paulus Zanagian.
Just how much do you know about Zanagian?
Only what Bert told me. He was an international crook, gun runner, spy, shipping magnate, international troublemaker.
Yeah, and just about as welcome in any decent country of this world as the plague.
Bert didn't want to insure the Jolly Roger.
Certainly an appropriate name, all right. If ever there was an international pirate. But go on, Jen.
Bert didn't want to insure it. $460,000, wooden hull and all, but he had to. Southwestern is a small company, Johnny, and the premium, 2 years' premium in advance, was too much to turn down.
So that was the clincher.
Yes. Bert needed it so much.
But then it burned and sank.
Yes. When they submitted the claim, Zanagian himself.
Oh?
Yes, Johnny. It was Paulus Zanagian himself who bought the policy, and he made the claim. Demanded immediate payment. But when Bert decided to hold up until you could come out here and investigate it.
The warnings and the so-called accident that killed him.
Yes. Now they're warning me. You. Oh, Johnny, why don't you give this up?
Where's Zanagian now?
Here in San Diego at the Larchmont.
And you're sure it wasn't he who called you tonight, who called Bert and warned him?
I'm sure. I would have known his voice, his accent. But, Johnny, I'm frightened.
All right, now look. Go on in there, into your bedroom and sleep.
No,
Take a sleeping pill, whatever you like, but get some sleep. Look, there's nothing we can do tonight, and there'll be plenty for us to do tomorrow.
But after that phone call,
I'll stay right here on the sofa. And look, I've got this. Have you any kind of a gun?
No, Johnny.
Well, now go on in there, lock your windows, close the drapes, and get some sleep. That's orders.
All right. Good night, Johnny.
I hope Jan slept better than I did. Expense account item 7, 90 cents. Taxi to police headquarters, first thing in the morning. I spent a solid hour talking with Detective Sergeant Joe Franklin. Yes, they were working on the hit-run death of Bert Parker. No, they hadn't come up with any leads. All he knew was that Bert had left his office late, was shortcutting his way through an alley to where his car was parked, had been knocked down when he reached the end of the alley. No witness, no tar marks, nothing. They'd questioned Jan Penny about possible enemies and come up with the same answers I did. But no evidence. Item 8, taxi to the Larchmont, where the desk clerk announced my arrival to the penthouse suite.
Come in, sir. I've been waiting for you to call on me.
Mr. Zanagian?
Terribly distressing news about your colleague, Mr. Parker. I feel... Oh, sit down, won't you?
Thanks.
Tell me, sir, have the police found any clue as to who ran down and killed the poor man?
Oh, you know that he died last night?
Oh, yes, of course, within a few minutes of when it happened. But was Sergeant Franklin able to give you no inkling of who might have done it? Oh, do not look surprised, my boy. I not only know of your visit to police headquarters this morning, but of everything else you have done since your arrival here in San Diego.
Well, that's very interesting, Mr. Zanagian.
Yes, isn't it? But I'm sure the reason for it is very obvious.
Is it?
Of course, my friend, of course. I am depending on you to see that prompt payment of my insurance on the Jolly Roger is made. After all, that is the only reason for your being sent here.
Who told you
Therefore, I feel it my obligation to see that nothing happens to you, that you are given, shall we say, adequate protection during the time you are here acting in my behalf.
Mr. Zanagian, before
That
you go
is why I have made a trusted man responsible for watching over you at all times during your stay.
Uh-huh. I suppose that's just a polite way of saying that you've had somebody tailing me since I got here.
Oh, by the way, a lovely girl, Miss Penny, isn't she? And she was so devoted to Mr. Parker. Terrible shock to her, his death. Your solicitude to her is to be highly commended.
You really keep tabs on things, don't you?
But now, let us get down to the business at hand.
Yeah, let's.
The loss of the Jolly Roger came at a most inopportune moment. My crew were testing some new equipment in preparation for a somewhat lengthy trip abroad. When the accident occurred, they sent her to the bottom out near the Coronado Islands.
Just what kind of an accident was it?
What? Oh, forgive me, dear man. I forget you have not yet contacted the Coast Guard for the details of the whole affair.
That's right, but how did
But
you...
I am certain you will. So why should I bore you with information you will only have to hear all over again from them? Suffice it to say, dear sir, that the loss of my beautiful yacht was due to some mechanical failure, so to speak. Something with the electrical system, I believe it was. Yes, I do. But my point to you is simply that I must have settlement of my claim without delay, so that I can leave the United States as soon as possible.
For where? Do you mind?
Oh, no. Of course I don't mind. But why bore you with my personal affairs? So urgent is my need for immediate settlement that I can only remind you that I am a most generous person. Which is to say, I can assure you of ample reward for anything you may do to expedite payment to me of the
Now, just hold on a minute.
I'm sorry, my dear sir. Oh, dear me, I'm sorry. I've seemed to monopolize the conversation, haven't I?
Mr. Zanagian, let's stop beating around the bush. An insurance claim for $460,000 is investigated in any event. Bert Parker seemed to think there was something wrong with his claim. He said so, and apparently it cost him his life. The same threats that were made to him have been passed on to his secretary, Jan Penny, and to me. And if that doesn't make the whole case smell to high heaven...
my dear
all
sir.
right now. Now you're trying to bribe me to make a quick settlement. So, mister, if I weren't suspicious of the whole thing before, you can believe me, I am now.
Oh, my dear
Why
man.
anyone with your reputation for millions should be in such a hurry to get his hands on a few $100,000, I don't know. But if I were you, I'd sit back very quietly and prepare for a long wait to see if you get it at all.
Oh, how unfortunate this attitude for you.
That a threat?
No, dear boy, not at all. I am simply thinking of how much easier it could be for you. And, of course, profitable. Perhaps you will change your mind.
Not a chance.
Then, sir, since settlement of my claim seems to rest entirely on your shoulders at the moment, and since someone, I can't imagine who, has seen fit to threaten you, and please, don't forget that, dear boy.
Mr. Zanagian.
Yes?
I don't scare easy. It was pretty obvious that Paula Zanagian was used to having his own way, would stop at nothing to get it. Bert Parker had been right. I'd have to watch my step. I checked with Jan, then grabbed a taxi to pay a visit to the Coast Guard. Lieutenant John Smith, believe it or not.
You can take your choice, Dollar. Read the report on the burning and sinking of the Jolly Roger here, or the copy I let Bert Parker have. I take it you talked to him.
Parker's dead.
What?
Yeah, hit and run, after he received a couple of threats to lay off this case.
You locked up Zanagian yet?
On what charges?
Well, who else?
That's a lot to go on.
If he didn't sink that boat himself, I'm a wall-eyed monkey.
You find out anything to back that up?
No, not a thing. The Jolly Roger sank in about as bad a spot out there as could have been picked. It's deep, bad current, dirty water from onshore silt. We tried to send on divers, got nowhere.
Hey, wait. I thought she went down in Mexican waters off the Coronados.
Yeah, she did, but we supplied the divers, or tried to. International cooperation, that sort of stuff. But we got nowhere.
How'd you find out about it in the first place?
One of our planes on routine patrol saw the puff from the explosion out over the water. By the time it actually got there, the hull was nothing but a mass of flames. Sank 10, 15 minutes later.
What about the crew?
The crew were lost, except for one kid, a cabin boy.
Yeah, where's he?
Mexican fishing boat out of Rosarito picked him up. He was in bad shape. The explosion had blown him clear. He's in the hospital in Tijuana.
Well, look, wait, hasn't anybody talked to him?
He was too badly hurt at first. But I spoke with the hospital just before you got here, and they think he might be able to talk by sometime this afternoon.
Well, what are we waiting for? Come on, let's get down there.
And I can't until later. Look, have you got a car?
No.
You want mine?
Well, sure, let's go. How far is it?
Even within the speed limit, you can make it in a half hour. Out this way. The car's out in the lot in the back.
Hey, look, you're mighty generous, Smith. I'll try to make this up to you somehow.
Forget it. I'd like to see you get the goods on Zanegian just as much as you would. I didn't like having him come into port here in the first place. And then when I learned that both Holland and Switzerland had tied up all of his funds...
They what?
Sure. In early last week's papers. That's why he needs the money. Here's my car. And if you can learn anything down there, if I can be of any help, I'm on pretty good terms with it. Hey, Dollar.
Oh, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, about that.
My car and excellent chauffeur Ortiz here would have got you to Tijuana much more rapidly and comfortably than you might drive, I am
Hey,
sure.
now, wait just a minute.
Which is why I came to meet you here. I knew you'd want to talk with the cabin boy who survived the accident to my ill-fated Jolly Roger.
Oh, you did?
Yes. However, I fear it is too late.
What do you mean?
As I was leaving my hotel, I heard from one of my, shall we say, associates. He informed me that he had just learned from one of his, shall we say, contacts in Tijuana.
Well?
Alas, the poor cabin boy died only a few minutes ago. Pity, sir, isn't it?
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's intriguing episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow, a dead man talks. And what he has to say isn't very pleasant. For it all adds up to just one more good, solid thread on the life of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. It is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote tonight's story. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
Welcome back. Well, we got a very key moment here, and that was the introduction of the character of Pat McCracken. Pat is actually one of those insurance investigators insurance adjusters who would become a regular character on Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. And this is marks a pretty big shift because throughout the show's history, you just have a generic actor from a generic company call up and say, "Hi, this is so-and-so from this company. Come on out and investigate the case." But you begin to get these people as real characters, which I think is just a wonderful change of pace for the series overall. And I think that this is key, and this is the first of several recurring characters that Johnny Dollar would get, as opposed to the previous versions that didn't really have any recurring characters at all. So definitely a big change for the series, and one I think to welcome. All right, well, we turn now to listener comments and feedback, and we start with Christine, who says, "Hi, Adam. I feel like I'm emailing you about Johnny Dollar too often now, but I've just finished listening to The Plantagenet Matter, and it just reinforced how awesome I think Bob Bailey is in this role. Nothing much really happened in the episode. The story pace was pretty slow, but it was so powerful anyway because of the emotion Bailey brought to it. So glad that we are in this part of the series and hoping that it lasts for a long time. As usual, thanks for your hard work." And kind of in the same vein, I have a comment here from William, who writes, "Thanks for the show, Adam. Your Dragnet show is what got me started, and now I'm a daily listener. The 5-part Johnny Dollars are excellent. Hope they go on a bit more. Take care, Will." Well, thanks so much, Will. In answer briefly to what Catherine said, there's not really such a thing as emailing too much about a series or about the show in general. I think that really what makes the show work so well is just all the listener interaction we have. Because that's the length of the commentary. Because sometimes, when I don't have any comments from listeners on a show, and I don't have any new concepts to introduce, it can be a struggle to get up to 2 minutes. So I really appreciate all of the listeners who email and just keep the comments coming. But really, I think that Bailey does a lot of work, and he does make the shows shine. I think there is some truth to the fact that the shows are better because they can be better developed than if you're just doing a half-hour show. But there's also something to Bob Bailey's acting, because in many of these shows, he's dealing with material that other actors have some way formed, but he's doing a job that stands out so well. So it's a group effort. These Bailey shows are definitely very special. Then we have a comment from Will Perkins, who writes on Facebook, "I'm almost a month behind in listening to the Johnny Dollar episodes where part 3 was missing and you broadcast parts 4 and 5 together. That's why I'm writing to you. I recommend you consider doing the 5-part broadcast as parts 1 and 3, 1 and 2, part 3 by itself, and then finish with parts 4 and 5. It makes the flow of the story line better as you listen to it. Trust me on this and just do it. Thanks for an excellent show." Well, Will, I definitely appreciate the feedback. I would be loath to make a change. We've kind of changed already from where we started it, because we were originally doing the Friday shows with the Carter Brown or whatever the second feature was first, and we reversed that. And I haven't received any other complaints on it since then. I personally like doing parts 4 and 5 on Friday, just because part 4 really leaves you with a sense of suspense, and I think that can be a good thing. So I appreciate the feedback, but very hesitant to change again. But I'll listen to what other listeners might have to say on that topic. And by the way, in answer to people's questions, by my count, we're about 2/5 of the way through the 5-part episode. So we've got quite a ways to go in this effort, and really a chance to just enjoy some of the best radio drama ever produced. All right, well, that actually, we have a couple other listener comments on Facebook. Rebecca says, I really enjoy Johnny Dollar. I listen to him via your podcast. And Georgiana says, Johnny Dollar starring Bob Bailey, the best. All right, well, thanks so much for all your comments. Truly appreciated. We will see you back here on Tuesday for the amazing Mr. Malone, and then join us back here on Wednesday as we continue on with the Jolly Rogers fraud matter. In the meantime, send your comments to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives, and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.